Today we're going to talk about descriptive statistics.
Awesome. What do you mean by descriptive statistics?
So, at least for me, the first thing that comes to mind is measures of center, kind of like mean, median, and mode for descriptive statistics.
Okay, so what is the mean and the median?
Yeah, so the mean and the median are two measures of center. And actually, I think the best way to describe them is with an example.
Okay.
So, we're going to talk about how sometimes the mean can be a better descriptive statistic and sometimes the median can be better. So, let's go ahead and do our example. So, I'm going to talk about salaries.
Ooh, provocative.
Yes. So, let's say we have 10 people in a room. And let's just say their average salary is $100,000. So the mean or the average salary is $100,000. And to keep things simple, let's go ahead and say that the median is also $100,000. And we're going to assume that all of these 10 people actually have a salary of $100,000 so that we know that those are the descriptive statistics.
Okay, and what does an average mean? Like, how do you calculate this?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So basically what I would do to find the average would be to take all of the people, all 10 people, and add up their salaries. So add $100,000 10 times, which I'm just going to, in general, call the sum of the salaries. And then I want to divide by how many people there are. So there were 10 people, so I'm going to divide by 10. And the average is super common. People are calculating averages starting in third grade, maybe even earlier. So that's how I would find the average. The median is still a measure of the center of a distribution, but it's slightly different in terms of the calculation. So what we would actually do to find the median is we would line up the 10 people in order of smallest salary to biggest salary and then pick the middle one.
Okay, so we could like draw out each person to really represent that, right?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And this is kind of, I guess, an easier example because all of their salaries we know are $100,000. So we have person 1 all the way to person 10.
So all of these people, I think we need one more person to be our 10th person. And all these people are each making $100,000.
Exactly. Yes. And then to find the median, we would pick the middle person.
Awesome. So so I see these numbers are exactly the same. Is that
Yes.
common?
I would say it happens sometimes, but it doesn't have to be the case. That's a good thing to point out. And so the example that I want to give actually is what happens if we have this group of people, 10 people all making $100,000. What happens to our different measures of center if a super rich person walks in?
So someone like Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, let's say Jeff Bezos comes into the room. Then how is that going to affect these measures of center? So Wade, can you explain who Jeff Bezos is?
So I was reading an article, and I think Jeff Bezos is now expected to be the first trillionaire.
Yes, a projected trillionaire. So his salary, billions of dollars. And the interesting thing is, when we add him to the list, the average is definitely going to change, right? Because this sum of the salaries is going to get a lot bigger than it originally was.
Right. So these 10 people had a total salary of just $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And now a trillionaire walks in. So now everyone's a billionaire.
Yeah, exactly. And sure, we're going to divide by 11 now instead of 10, but exactly, this is going to inflate our average. And one thing about the average as a measure of center is that it's very sensitive to extreme values, extreme high values, extreme low values. And actually, if you change literally any number on the list, even if you just change it by $1, the average is going to change. So keep that in mind when you're trying to decide, is it better to use the average or the median? Or sometimes you might want to report both. The next question is, what about the median? Does the median actually change here?
So I would say that the median was basically this person, and it's still this person.
Yeah, right? Because we're going to pick the middle person, and it's still going to be one of these. It's going to be the middle person of these people all making $100,000. So this is really interesting. We had this super rich person walk into the room, and the median stayed the same. So I guess it kind of depends which one you'd want to use. Do you care about Jeff Bezos? Do you want him included in your data set because you want to show, okay, he makes the average massive? Or are you like, well, most people aren't making that much, so the median might be a better measure of center?
So when you think about descriptive statistics, you looked at these measures of center. Are there other descriptive statistics that you look at as a statistician?
Yes, actually. So we have measures of center. And then another thing I think of is measures of spread. So how spread apart is the data? And two really common measures of spread that I look at are the range, which is pretty straightforward to calculate, actually. It's just the maximum value minus the min. And then also the standard deviation, or sometimes we abbreviate it as SD, which basically takes every single person on the list and looks at, on average, how far are they from the mean. So with both of these, actually, if we're thinking about Jeff Bezos again, the range is definitely going to change because this maximum value is going to get a lot bigger. And then the standard deviation, I said, is kind of calculated based on the average. So that's going to change as well because we know the average is going to be affected.
So I look at all of these statistics when I nerd out with data in my data science work. And one thing that I'm going to present, and you're going to see throughout this series, is we also use a few symbols to represent these different quantities. So when I mention the average or the mean, I often use the Greek letter mu. So you're going to see that mu is going to represent the average of a data set. And standard deviation, do you guys have a symbol for this?
Yeah, a lot of times you'll see it as sigma, another Greek letter. And we'll talk a lot more about that in the videos for the series.
And dive into some math. So I'll see you there.